Katoto shepu awe, ayawe, ayawe.
Tekenya katoto, kamini tekenya, tekenya katoto.
A very good evening to you. We sure hope that you've been having yourself a lovely day so far. It's time for Business Insight here on KBC Channel 1. My name is Betty Kiptum. Of course, we are bringing you up to date with the latest on matters, the COVID-19 pandemic. And just to give you an overview, remember today the cases, or rather the samples that were tested were 1,486. Out of this, 21 of them were found to be positive with coronavirus. 3 recoveries were discharged today, and unfortunately 2 people lost their lives. Now, since the beginning of this pandemic here in Kenya, 36,918 samples have been tested so far. The confirmed cases is 758 people have been tested positive with coronavirus. Recoveries, the good news is that 284 of them have been discharged. Unfortunately, 42 lives have been lost. Now, on the international front, we are talking 4,471,144 confirmed cases of coronavirus. And of these, 1,679,639 people have recovered. Unfortunately, the world has lost 299,596 lives to COVID-19. We will have the details of the coronavirus pandemic and much, much more. But remember, today it is all about Business Insight, and the budget will be read in about less than a month's time. Just what is the Treasury looking to achieve with this budget? These are uncertain times. The COVID-19 has seen the economy slow down. Of course, the revenue loophole that has been created by the tax amendments that were implemented. We shall be having a look at how that is faring on. But first, here are the highlights.
Tested 1,486 samples in the last 24 hours, bringing to total the number of samples tested to 36,918. And from the samples tested today, 21 people have tested positive for COVID-19 disease.
The government directs focus in war on COVID-19 to Namanga and other border towns.
We reject and condemn the manner in which our party Secretary General has selectively issued letters to Jubilee women-nominated senators who allegedly did not attend a parliamentary group meeting.
Jubilee women MPs cry foul over party leadership changes in the Senate. More relief at the fuel pump as petrol price drops by 9 shillings and diesel by 19 shillings. Business Insight starts right now. My name is Betty Kiptum. My colleague on the sign language interpretation is Byron Abuli. Now, the government has declared Namanga a high-risk area as it directed its focus in the war on COVID-19 to the border towns where cases of people testing positive for coronavirus is on the rise. 8 truck drivers from Tanzania were Thursday denied entry into Kenya after they tested positive for COVID-19 at the Namanga border. Health Chief Administrative Secretary Dr. Mercy Mwangangi urged Kenyans to be vigilant on foreigners who may use illegal routes to enter the country, even as she announced 21 more infections of coronavirus in the country. This raises the total number of infections from coronavirus to 758 as 2 more people succumbed. Purity Museo reports.
The situation at Namanga town on the Kenya-Tanzania border Residents are not sure of their protection from coronavirus as the porous border is not limiting interaction of people from the two countries.
Sasa sisi tuna hofu kwa sababu hapa Namanga Watanzania wanafuka na madereva wanafuka na wanapitia hapa custom. Sisi tuko na shida sana kwa sababu hao madereva ikifika hapa wanalala lodgings, wanakula chakula. Sasa hiyo kitu inafaa hii boda ifikiriwe na serikali, kama ni kusimamisha watu usimamisho kwanza.
Too much free movement between our neighbors and ourselves, and the control measures that are being taken, we feel they are still not enough to curb or to control as the government is trying to do so.
Namanga border was put on the list of high-risk zones on Thursday after a total of 28 truck drivers from Tanzania tested positive for coronavirus between Wednesday and Thursday.
8 individuals were truck drivers from Tanzania who also tested positive and were referred back to Tanzania. 7 at the Namanga border and 1 at Hispania border.
Health Chief Administrative Secretary Dr. Masi Mwangangi said the National Emergency Response Committee is monitoring the situation and will not hesitate to take more stringent measures as the situation dictates.
We wish to inform you, as members of the East African community, we are in constant discussion with member states on how best this matter can be handled for the safety and well-being of our communities.
She further appealed to Kenyans living along the borders to be more vigilant in addressing the threat from neighboring countries. COVID-19 infections rose to 758 Thursday as 2 more people succumbed.
From the samples tested today, 21 people have tested positive for COVID-19 disease, and all these 21 are Kenyans. The youngest is 7 years old, whereas the oldest is 79 years old.
12 cases are from Mombasa, Kajiado and Nairobi, 4 cases each, and 1 from Uasin Gishu. In Nairobi, Kibera and Eastleigh have 2 cases each. In Mombasa, Likoni recorded 5 cases, Mvita 4 and Nyali 1. In Kajiado, 3 are from Namanga border point, while 1 from Loitoktok. A total of 20 counties are affected. Nairobi now has a total of 394 cases, Mombasa 276, Kajiado 28, Mandera 14, Wajir 13, Migori 10, Kilifi 9, Kiambu 8, Kitui 4, Kwale, Nakuru and Machakos 3 cases each, Siaya, Bungoma, Busia, Kakamega, Homa Bay and Uasin Gishu having 2 cases, with Isiolo and Bomet recording a case each. So far, the government has tested 36,918 people in an aggressive move aimed at eradicating the virus, even as the World Health Organization warned that it is here to stay. As the government considers WHO's recommendations on living with the virus, the major concern is now at the border points. In the last 24 hours, 4 Tanzanians who were tested by the Kenyan authorities turned out to be positive for the virus. From Wednesday, this number is now at 27. Purity Museo, Channel 1 News, Nairobi.
Long-distance truck drivers in Mombasa are decrying long queues and slow pace of testing for the novel coronavirus at the Miritini dispensary. The truckers now want additional screening centers established to hasten the health clearance process, which is a mandatory requirement before entering the port of Mombasa.
Miritini dispensary, where truckers are being screened for the novel coronavirus. Long queues coupled with impatience is a recipe for frustration and emotion these truck drivers know too well. They complain for a painfully slow process, which is piling on the pressures they reflect on the experiences while traversing borders. Swale Athman Kibwana, who plies Kenya-Uganda route, laments that while on transit, they are harassed by law enforcement officers in both countries.
Fika pande Uganda ndo balaa inaanza. Dharau za kupimwa. Mkenya namna anavyochokorwa na Mganda tofauti kubwa sana. Kuna mweriti ya mwenzangu baada mimi nilichokorwa, yeye akachokorwa, hii pua ikamwaga damu. Na ipo bwaga damu ambayo toa uchafu wako hapo. Hivi fika wakati wa Kenya kule tukitembea Uganda, ukikuwa Uganda mtu anakuta wewe corona.
His colleagues share the same sentiments and are appealing to the Kenyan consulate in Uganda to intervene and ensure they are not profiled as coronavirus carriers.
Tageri janga la corona lilipotokea, tumekuwa na matatizo sana hasa kule sehemu za mipakani, maana foreni zimekuwa ndefu sana lakini sasa tunapata kuwa ni afueni kwetu sisi madereva, maana tukipata vipimo hapa inamaanisha zile foleni za kule mpakani zitakuwa kidogo zimepungua.
Meanwhile, residents of Miritini Estate say they are living in fear of contracting COVID-19 because of the proximity of the screening facility.
Sahi hii maandamano iko hapa, inastahili itolewe hapa, ipelekwe juu Miritini kule vehicle inspection, kwa ile place ile ni kubwa kuliko hapa.
Hili swala la kuleta madereva wapimiwa hapa, watu wengi wanalalamika kwa maana ugonjwa wa COVID-19 ni ugonjwa ambao unatisha watu wengi. Kwa hivyo wakazi wapo wako na haki ya kulalamika sababu ujui itakuwaje.
Mombasa County Government and the Ministry of Health began testing truck drivers in a bid to flatten the curve of infection in the coastal region. Reporting for Channel 1 News from Mombasa County, I'm Michael Mandiga.
Now, the coronavirus pandemic has altered family life, with parents having to navigate through challenges brought about by schools closure, working at home and social distancing. Tonight, we give you tips on how to take care of school-going children during this season.
To the next age group, these are children now who are school-going children. They are now from class 1 going onwards. Children who can follow rules, who can be explained to. Children who still need structure in their day. And these are children who are used to going to school, to learning. And so they are finding with this new environment where they are being told to stay at home, they are a bit confused. They don't know when they are going to see their friends. They don't know when they are going to go back to school and be with their teachers. So parents, once again, talk to your children. For children, all age groups of children, if they need to see a doctor, we are encouraging parents, please do not stay with a sick child at home. It's more dangerous. As the Ministry of Health, we've put measures in place to screen people even from the entrance of public facilities, and more private facilities are also taking this up so that we limit transmission of any person who has suspected COVID to somebody who doesn't have. So our facilities are quite safe for everyone to visit if they so require. Children at this age group can take in stress and they can actually be depressed. Remember, you've removed them from their normal day-to-day activity, which is school, home, school, home. So for these children, there's a very high risk that they could actually get depressed. So parents, be in touch with your children, continue talking with your children, limit for all children, please limit the information that comes through them from our screens, from our radios, from our computer. Children see things and they interpret them, and especially when there's no one to guide them on what is happening, they will interpret them in a very negative way and it will affect them mentally. These are children who can stay in the house, but they are also able to open a door and quickly rush outside to go meet with their friends. So sit down with them and explain to them why this is not allowed, to meet with their friends or to go to the neighborhood homes. We are facing a crisis where we have some parents who are used to their children going to school so that they can go and do their daily normal work. So these children are being left in the homes alone, and there could be cases of children getting hurt or injured if there is no proper guidance. So for caregivers who really need to go and leave young children at homes, please ensure there's somebody who's watching over them. Never leave young children alone.
Very important tips there. Now moving on, a group of health workers has threatened to go on strike Monday, citing lack of funding and personal protective equipment for their colleagues in the front line fighting the coronavirus pandemic. The group claims the government has failed to conduct mass testing on health workers attending to coronavirus patients, exposing them to risk of transmitting the virus to the families and communities.
A national strike by health professionals is looming.
Sisi kama wafanyakazi tumepatia serikali muda wa kutosha.
All lab technologists, technicians, Monday, please, down your tools, rest at home.
The Kenya National Union of Clinical Officers, Kenya National Professional Society, and the Kenya Laboratories Technologies have vowed to down their tools Monday should the government fail to address their concerns.
The safety of the health worker
is the safety of Kenyans. And some things are well evident. You have seen that the medics who have been infected in line of duty, they have also infected patients.
The health professionals claim they have been neglected by the government from funds meant for frontline workers and have not been considered in the issuance of personal protective equipment in the war against the virus.
Unataka kulipa watu shilingi 19,000 na uwatumie wakati huu ambapo nchi zote ulimwenguni zinaendelea kuhakikisha kwamba zina acknowledge ile kazi inafanywa na wahudumu wa afya. Kenya imekaa tofauti.
Out of the 19 healthcare professionals, only doctors were promoted at this critical time when the government is saying they will even deduct money from pensioners because the economy has crashed.
The professionals also complain of laxity by the national government to conduct mass testing on health workers, exposing their families and community around them to the dangers of the virus. They want contractual employees to be employed on permanent basis to create stability in the health sector.
Sisi tunawapa muda, hata Jumapili tukiitwa tutatoka.
We are in negotiations and discussions with them to evaluate their concerns and to be able to come to a middle ground where we can actually move forward with this. And as we do this, one of the issues that we are addressing is actually PPEs. And that's why we have 2 trucks right next to us today that are here to bring together some almost 11,000 sets of PPEs that will protect our healthcare workers.
Irene Mchuma Udim, Channel 1.
Now to matters politics, a section of Jubilee women members of parliament is now accusing the Jubilee party of taking advantage of the COVID-19 crisis to intimidate its members. Led by Kandara Member of Parliament Alice Wahome, the lawmakers have denounced what they termed as the illegal ouster of Senators Kiptum Murkomen and Susan Kihika from Jubilee Senate leadership.
The women lawmakers have accused the Jubilee Party of selectively issuing show-cause letters to nominated women senators over their failure to attend Monday's parliamentary group meeting at State House.
We want to ask him to look again at the list, and he will find that there are 22 senators who have not attended or did not attend the said meeting. Where are their letters to show cause?
The claims coming a day after the party Secretary General admonished 5 senators for snubbing the Jubilee Party parliamentary group meeting on Monday. The lawmakers also faulted the party for being gender insensitive over its move to replace Nakuru Senator Susan Kihika with the Hamuranga counterpart Irungu Kang'ata.
Sisi kama kina mama tunajiuliza effort zetu katika vyama ziko wapi? Ama kazi yetu katika vyama inaonekanaje? Kwa hivyo swala hilo mimi nataka kusema ya kwamba tunalikemea kwa sababu alipotoka Susan kina mama ama viongozi kina mama ndani ya Senate wako wengi sana, lakini hilo lilipewa kishogo akawekwa mwanamume.
Senators Millicent Namanga, Naomi Wako, Mary Seneta, Victor Pringay and Iman Falhada claim they are required to explain why they did not attend the meeting which endorsed Kandu's Samuel Pugesho as the leader of the majority party in the Senate.
If you feel Jubilee is not your party or you don't like Jubilee anymore, step out, go back to the Wananchi. They will vote for you again because you have the numbers, and you feel you have your numbers. Come back as official opposition.
Maybe I can only call our president to be a bit lenient because whatever is happening, it is also affecting us.
We stand with the women. We can never be intimidated. The MCAs were intimidated last time, even from Bomet County. And I want to say, I must thank the courts because they are always there to interpret the law and to make sure the law is followed to the letter.
Everything I said about this government of ours and Jubilee Party, mismanagement, lack of freedom to speak, democracy, the rights of women being trampled now like now here. That's why we are studying solidarity. Yes, I am vindicated.
The lawmakers spoke amid a growing feeling that the political purge which began in the Senate may find its way into the National Assembly.
The Nairobi Metropolitan Services has embarked on a process of rehabilitating and restoring the Michuki Memorial Park in Nairobi into a modern city park. Nairobi Metropolitan Services Director General Mohamed Abdi says the rehabilitation exercise will be completed in the next 1 month and Nairobi residents will be free to visit the park, relax, picnic and take leisurely walks. Ben Chumba literally took a walk in the park and compiled the following report.
Situated along Nairobi River between the Globe Cinema and Museum Hill roundabout lies Mishuki Memorial Park. Since its establishment in 2012, the park quickly lost its glory and slowly became an hideout for city muggers, street children, drug users, and other idlers. The man behind its establishment, the late Environment Minister John Mishuki, had been moved from the environment docket, leaving his petty project to hand-caring hands.
And they were actually a menace, but we managed to remove all of them. Those people who had encroached on Michuki Park, we managed to convince them to move. We are now in the process of rehabilitating it.
However, following the ongoing rehabilitation exercise at the park, soon you and I will be able to take leisurely walks, relax, and have picnics at the recreational facility.
So this will offer as a site for Nairobians during their lunch break, tea break, to come and enjoy the scenario here.
We are doing a lot of activities here. We also want to put a nursery whereby people of Nairobi will be buying seedlings, more so the indigenous trees, to plant to increase the forest cover in Nairobi County.
The park, which will be managed by the Kenya Forest Service, is in the process of being fenced off to enhance security. Nairobi Metropolitan Services Director General Mohamed Badi projects that the park will attract hundreds of visitors daily immediately the rehabilitation exercise is complete.
We'll also create a cycle path where people can cycle through. We have already put up the lighting in terms of security. We are also going to increase the lighting so that people can also come here at night. We'll be able to complete it by end of this month, and hopefully it will be open to the public by next month.
The development coming as Nairobi Metropolitan Services embarks on the process of rehabilitating existing roads, some which have been neglected for a long time. The Grogan Road, adjacent to Nairobi River and stretching right from Globe Cinema to Karioko roundabout, is currently undergoing rehabilitation. The road as for years been choked under garbage and part of it used by mechanics.
This road had been a bit in neglect for many years, and a lot of it was completely submerged from the right side, as you can see, the embankment where we have cut up to this side. It was total soil, it was not there, and it was only a single footpath, and therefore it made business for the community here very, very difficult.
Ben Chumba, reporting for Channel 1 News.
Quite the place to go hang out there once the stay-at-home directive is lifted. Now, that is where we take our first break here on Business Insight. Do stay with us. We will be back with more.
Caught in a landslide.
caused drama at Kima location in Mbere, South Embu County, after hundreds of angry residents assaulted the area chief and 2 other people over land ownership wrangles. The area chief, Charles Ngari, and 2 other men suspected to be officers attached to Tana and Athi River Development Agency, TARDA, are said to have erected beacons demarcating a land inhabited by the residents.
Angry residents of Makina location in Mbere South took to the streets to demonstrate against alleged eviction. Chaos that nearly injured the area chief and 2 other men, ostensibly from Tana and Athi Rivers Development Agency, TARDA. Concerns were rife over erected beacons on the land which residents fear might be a plan to evict them.
Katika Makima location, sisi sita tuko naye elia hii, sisi tunapebwa namna gani? Ile makaji tuko naye, mashamba yetu, tunaona watu wengine wakitoka elia zingine, wanakuja kibeba makaratasi, na hao ni poshari.
Wakati walikuwa wajenga hii damu, na wale watu ambao walikuwa wanafanya kazi hivyo, walikuja wakatuonyesha yellow line, mahali watu wanafaa kuishi. Kwa nini sasa wanasema tuende kilomita 5 kutoka kwa ile yellow line? Why is it that?
But as the area chief managed to escape the wrath of the rowdy residents, the 2 men alleged from TARDA received a severe beating as they could not convince the locals the reasons behind their presence in the area.
Na walikuwa na wakubwa wetu, sub chief, assistant chief, na wakuchukua wakati waongee na sisi. Mimi nilijitokeza nikaita polisi mmoja nikamuuliza ni nini inaendelea. Akaniambia mama kaa kando acha kuongea. Nilimwambia nitaongea kabisa. Hata nikukufa sinjali. Mimi nitaongea kwa sababu nilizaliwa huku Ndunguni na watu wanatuambia tutoke. Jamani tutoke tuende wapi? Nilimwambia tutaenda.
And after roughing up the visitors, the locals dismantled the erected beacons. It was not until the intervention of security officers that the situation ceased. Journalists covering the fracas were not spared as they were bundled into a police vehicle for no apparent reasons. Area MCA, however, urged TARDA to engage the locals as matters land remains an emotive issue.
Koti ilisema hivi, watu waitwe, waketi pamoja, watakapokuwa wanafanya mambo yao, watu wetu wakuwe pale. Au sio? Waliwaita. Basi na waomba kwa heshima kubwa tafadhali, wakomeshe hii, muda huu wa corona uishe.
Kamchemenza, for Channel 1 News.
Quite an unfortunate situation there now across borders. World Health Organization has warned that the new coronavirus may never go away and populations around the world will have to learn how to live with it. This comes as a top U.S. infectious disease expert warns that the country does not yet have the disease under control and that easing lockdowns too soon is risking unnecessary deaths. Globally, the number of people confirmed to have died with COVID-19 is about 300,000, while 1.5 million have recovered.
The novel coronavirus may never be wiped out, according to the World Health Organization, which is urging countries to strategize on how to live with it.
This virus may become just another endemic virus in our communities, and this virus may never go away. HIV has not gone away, but we've come to terms with the virus, and we have found the therapies, and we've found the prevention methods, and people don't feel as scared as they did before, and we're offering life to people with HIV, long, healthy lives to people with HIV. And I'm not comparing the two diseases, but I think it is important that we're realistic, and I don't think anyone can predict when or if this disease will disappear.
WHO says even if a vaccine is found, massive efforts will be needed in controlling the virus. This comes as WHO and the United Nations urge leaders to give priority to mental health services as psychological suffering will outlast the COVID-19 pandemic.
The COVID-19 pandemic is now hitting families and communities with additional mental stress. Those most at risk are frontline health workers, older people, adolescents and young people, those with pre-existing mental health conditions, and those caught up in conflict and crisis. We must help them and stand by them.
United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres has also urged governments to look into achieving a more resilient, inclusive and sustainable economy, saying millions of people are likely to fall into poverty as a consequence of COVID-19 pandemic. Meanwhile, with tourism making up 10% of European Union's economy, the EU has urged its leaders to reopen borders between each other under new guidelines to help improve the affected tourism industry. Europe has recorded over 1.62 million cases, with the 5 countries reporting the highest numbers being Russia, United Kingdom, Spain, Italy and Germany, according to the European Center for Disease Prevention and Control. America has recorded more than 1.88 million cases, with the United States remaining the leading country with 1.39 million infections. Top U.S. infectious disease expert Anthony Fauci warns that the country does not yet have the disease under control and that easing lockdowns too soon risks unnecessary deaths, a warning that U.S. President Donald Trump has termed as unacceptable. Other American countries most hit include Brazil, which has reported another new record number of 11,385 cases in 24 hours, Peru, Canada and Mexico. In Africa, confirmed cases stand at 72,539, with South Africa, Egypt, Morocco, Algeria, Ghana and Nigeria leading in infections and deaths. On an encouraging note, a 98-year-old has recovered from coronavirus after receiving treatment at one of Lagos State's isolation centers. State Governor Babajide Sano-Olu announced that the woman was discharged along with 25 others who had previously tested positive to the virus. Tanzania has dismissed allegations that it is not doing enough in the fight against coronavirus, a day after the U.S. Embassy warned of an exponential growth of the pandemic in the country. China's National Health Commission has confirmed 7 new cases of coronavirus, 6 in the northeastern province of Jilin, where the city of Shulan increased its risk level from medium to high on May 10th. Kamche Menza for Channel 1 News.
Back home, a family in Tinganga village, Kiambu County, is mourning the death of a 37-year-old woman who fell and drowned in River Committee on her way home from work Wednesday evening. Residents are calling on the county government to send experienced divers to locate and retrieve her body. More of this in our county news wrap.
According to Boniface Kariru, who was together with the woman, the deceased slipped off the makeshift bridge and fell into the raging river. He said its efforts to rescue her were fruitless as the woman was swept away by the fast-moving water.
Mimi kwanza nilikuwa nimeanguka ndani ya mto, nilikuwa nimejishikilia kwa zile mamiti. Sasa yeye katika harakati ya kuja kuniokoa ndio alipata hiyo ajali ya kuanguka ndani.
Amateur divers spent Thursday searching for her body but in vain. Area Chief John Karuku attributed the cause of the incidents to Panyarut, where residents are evading a roadblock that has been erected along Githunguri Kiambu Road.
Kuna roadblock pale Ngemo. Ndio sasa watu wanatumia hii njia kama kichochoro akuja pande nyingine. So itabidi sasa tung'oe hii daraja.
This as the search for the body of an 11-year-old who drowned in River Chani at Kangemi area on the outskirts of Nyeri town enters the 6th day, with the family calling on the county and national government to intervene in the rescue mission. Hassan Washira, a standard 6 pupil at Muhoya Academy, drowned last Saturday at around 9 a.m. when he slipped and was swept by the swollen and fast-flowing river.
Lakini biwa na watu alienda kunawa mikono kwa mto, akatesa akabebwa na mto. Tangu hiyo siku kuna divers lipewa, akakuja hiyo on Saturday na akakuja on Sunday, but on Monday hatujapata.
Elsewhere, Kirinyaga Governor Ann Mumbi Waiguru has accused the National Treasury for the delay in payment of the Kirinyaga County government workers.
The problem has been an issue we've had with the National Treasury, but that issue has been resolved, and they've now paid salaries for March and April.
Meanwhile, Migori County Assembly members want the former CEC for Health, his Chief Officer and Procurement Officer, probed over the misappropriation of 16 million shillings during their tenure. The committee said the money was meant for the installation of power backups at the county referral hospital, but no work was done at the facility.
in 2019 when the committee goes to verify the allegations of the Auditor General, those particular items are also not there. So that is a clear indication, and a lot of money had been paid, over 15 million. Is a clear indication of misappropriation of public funds.
In another development, residents of Kangaita village in Timau, Meru County have taken upon themselves to construct roads in the region after their plea to local leaders to repair the road fell on deaf ears. The residents point an accusing finger to the area Governor Kiraitu Murungi and other elected leaders who they claim renegated on their campaign's promises.
Serikali ya Meru pamoja na viongozi, sisi tuliambiwa tuchague uniform na tukachagua uniform tukifikiria ya kwamba italetea mwananchi maendeleo kule machinani, lakini hiyo sio ukweli.
Finally, residents of Chepkoyai village, Hamisi sub-county, Vihiga County, have decried the deplorable condition of the Chepkoyai-Buyangu road. The irate residents planted maize, sugarcane and banana stems on the road to protest its state.
Tunaambia watengeneze barabara, nasema tutakuja kutengeneza. Walikuja wakabomoa fence, wakasema watengeneza barabara. Barabara ikutengenezwa. Tukashangaa shida ni nini, mbona barabara haijatengenezwa?
Sio barabara ya serikali tena, tunataka tupande miwa, tupande ndizi, tupande mrenda, tupande kunde. Hata serikali wenyewe wakikuja hapa tuwapatie.
Timothy Kipnusu, Darubini ya Channel 1.
Thank you, Timothy Kipnusu, for that report. Now we want to take a quick short break, and remember you can interact with us on Twitter at KBC Channel 1 as well as at Betty Kiptum. The Benjamin Kimbereza here, you're saying you're streaming from Magongo, Mombasa. Thank you for watching. Omar Yunis from Voi, you're also watching, as well as Hariton and Jenga. Thank you very much for watching. Interact with us. We will be back with more news, including business news and sports. Stay with us.
KBC, in collaboration with the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development, is broadcasting enhanced out-of-class learning on radio, television and online. Catch the lessons every weekday on KBC Channel 1 from 2 to 4 p.m. on KBC English Service and 15 FM from 9:15 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Radio Taifa from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. KBC English Service, Radio Taifa and 15 FM are also available countrywide on the free-to-air Signet digital TV platform, or log on to www.kbc.co.ke for live streaming, or download the KBC Online app on Google Play Store. Kenya Broadcasting Corporation, ensuring learning no matter what.
Next on. Million faces around the world, but one thing is the same. In their eyes I can see light calling out your name.
Ibada zote ambazo zinaweza kufanyika ndani ya msikiti bado tunaweza kuzifanya manyumbani mwetu, kama vile itikaf ama kusoma Qur'ani, kusali tarawih na mengine mengi ambayo ungetamani kuyafanya ndani ya msikiti, kwa sababu msikiti ni jumba tu, lakini swala na ibada zote zipo kila mahali, kama anavyosema Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala kwenye Qur'ani.
On the next episode of Ashoka,
I have come to know that a secret tunnel is being constructed since a very long time under this palace without our knowledge.
Promise me that you will defeat Brother Sushi.
By following the principles my mother taught me, I shall offer my life in order to safeguard my motherland.
This is what I expect out of you, Ashok.
business. Motorists have been handed a big relief for the next 1 month after fuel pump prices were drastically reduced. A litre of petrol has been slashed by 9 shillings and 54 cents and will be beginning midnight retail at 83 shillings and 33 cents in Nairobi, with diesel going for 78 shillings and 37 cents a litre, down by 19 shillings and 19 cents. The reduction of fuel prices is in response to the fall in the global crude oil prices due to oversupply. The Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority has attributed the lowering of fuel pump prices to the decrease in global crude prices for super petrol that has fallen by 38.94% from $309 per cubic meter in March to $188 in April. In a similar period, diesel decreased by 44.04% from $432.70 per cubic meter to $242.13 per cubic meter. The authority says the computation of new prices also took into consideration changes effected by the Value-Added Tax Law Amendment Act of 2020 that lowered VAT from 16 to 14%. Kerosene, however, increased by 2.49 cents per litre, as according to the authority, there was no cargo of the product discharged at the port of Mombasa from 10th April to 9th May. The pump price reductions would have been even by a wider margin were it not for the shilling that weakened 2.67% against the dollar, hitting 106.83 to the greenback over the same period. Fuel will be cheapest in Mombasa, where a litre of super petrol will retail at 80 shillings 85 cents, diesel at 75 shillings 88 cents, while kerosene is 77 shillings 29 cents. It will be expensive in Mandera, where a litre of super petrol goes for 96 shillings 36 cents, diesel costs 91 shillings 41 cents, and kerosene at 92 shillings 81 cents. Definitely some good news for motorists there. Now, moving on, media owners are calling on the Communications Authority of Kenya and other regulators to consider waiving some fees, introduce subsidies and intervention that will cushion the media industry from adverse effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. The media owners argue that the COVID-19 pandemic has resulted in reduced advertising, which is likely to impact their businesses. Speaking during an ICT Week seminar, Media Owners Association representative Monica Ndugu said media houses have increased content on education programs for kids and are disseminating coronavirus messages for free.
Since the government announced restrictions in movement and measures aimed at containing the spread of coronavirus in the country, the media industry has been awash with education content and COVID-19 public announcement that media houses air for free. Media owners say this has forced them to alter their programming to accommodate free public interest content.
The pandemic, we've seen a lot of issues of mental health, of gender-based violence, domestic violence, of children abuse. So what we are doing is to also use our platforms to communicate how people can get help, to facilitate them to also be able to access us and share with us information.
They now want the Communication Authority of Kenya and other government agencies to waive some of the levies charged on media houses to stay afloat.
So we are in discussions with the regulator to see what type of subsidies or what types of interventions can be made, because some of us run the media houses with internal and external content. And where external content is concerned, there are usually cost implications. And with our drop in revenues, then we are having to relook at those costs.
Businesses are struggling. Indeed, they have kicked up on business continuity. And as a regulator, we want to stand by you for the sector and to see how best we can support this initiative.
This emerged during an ICT Week webinar where courier service providers noted that their businesses are being sustained by increased home deliveries as more Kenyans work from home.
We have seen an upsurge of demand in non-conventional sectors and a reduction of or closure of volumes from other non-conventional from other sectors.
Personal protective equipment, laboratory services, and medicine top the list of goods being delivered by courier firms.
We have now come into the party and started providing part of the intervention measures in solutions like lab networking, moving lab samples from points of collection to, and also, facilitating in transmission of results as well.
To encourage more uptake, especially by those living in remote areas to access essential goods, courier service providers are being encouraged to consider reducing charges. Initially, courier service business was affected by movement restrictions and the government work from home advisory. Benson Rioba reporting for Channel 1 Business.
Now, the National Treasury Cabinet Secretary Ukur Yatani is walking a tightrope as he drafts this year's budget to be read in less than a month. The key headache for the National Treasury CS is how the budget will be financed. This is because new tax measures have reduced revenue collections, while COVID-19 has affected what is likely to be collected from businesses in tax, fees and other levies. The balance between supporting measures to support the economy and pick up and financing the budget seem to be the key headache for policymakers as they draft the 2020-2021 national budget. I spoke with David Kingo, an investments analyst at Saiton Investments, on what the Treasury should focus on while drafting the budget, and this is how the conversation went. In February, the National Treasury presented budget estimates totaling about 2.91 trillion. Much of this was to be financed by a revenue collection at about 2.1 trillion shillings. These estimates are likely not to be met, as said by the CS in charge of Treasury, Ukur Yatani, as the new tax laws took effect. Now, to just give us an overview of how the budgeting process of this year will go is David Kingo, an investments analyst at Saiton Investments. Welcome.
Thanks a lot.
Quite unprecedented times we're having here. What does it look like now for the budgeting?
So it's quite a difficult situation for the CS in Treasury because looking at the economic status that is happening because of the COVID-19, we have slowed economic performance. So revenue collection avenue, the tax bases are quite strained. So we really don't understand how it will come to make up to collect what is talking about 1.8 trillion in terms of under collections through the economy. So it's quite a challenging situation but maybe we'll see the strategy that is going to have to collect the same. But because of the COVID-19, the economic constraint is too much to raise that particular revenue. And looking at that, we have taken time before we fight on COVID-19. So generally it has led to a slowed economic performance, which is literally close to a lockdown. So collecting revenue amounted to 1.8 trillion from an economy that has seemingly been on lockdown is quite a challenge.
And when you talk about this 1.8 trillion, do you think these numbers will even be presented in the budget itself, or they will have to bring them down?
So there are options that they are trying to think of removing or bringing them down in terms of cutting the budget for the executive, judiciary and the parliament. And because the measure that we've seen being used to fight COVID-19 in terms of budget reallocations and cutting of unnecessary costs. So if the parliament is going to push the CS to ensure that they still push the same strategies ahead, so you might look at the figures coming down. So to a manageable level, just to mention, but based on the economic outlook that maybe the CS will come out with to see where this money is going to come out from.
Of course, as you've rightly put it, the economy has slowed down magnificently. It's definitely going to have a bit of a problem, or present a bit of a problem for that revenue collection. The new tax laws that were implemented, what does this say for the revenue collection?
It definitely means that we are going to have a bigger deficit in terms of the way we propose to collect revenue. And so what might happen definitely is that we might see a shrinking of the fiscal framework, the fiscal policies. In fiscal policies, talk about infrastructural development. So because if we have some chunk of money that is going to infrastructure development, they might be slowed, they might be delayed, they might be postponed. So this one will try to cushion the budget in terms of ensuring they're only focusing on the recurrent expenditures and trying to make some significant cuts on infrastructural development. Maybe that would cushion the economy, because taxing people to go and construct highways might quite be a challenge. So definitely we expect some slowdown in terms on physical side of the monetary of the government management framework. Yes.
Do you foresee that some expenditure will have to be cut? Definitely the government has already said that the travel expenses have to be stopped for now. Do you foresee this going into the next year?
Yeah, definitely it will move to the next financial year, because This COVID-19, once we kill it in Kenya, we've not, maybe it will still remain in Europe, where we're talking about people traveling there for banking, for seminars. So we'll be traveling those countries. Maybe they'll not be accepting people to come into their country. So it's going to still extend in terms of those unnecessary costs will remain unnecessary until the economy comes up again. So if traveling is unnecessary as per the definition of the CS Treasury, then it's going to be unnecessary until we recover as an economy. Because we cannot open up unnecessary cost when still the local citizens who really give this tax are still struggling. So we still expect extension of those curtailing of unnecessary costs.
Right. Apart from the tax laws that were implemented and definitely seeing that loophole now, the whole of the revenue just growing bigger, there's also the businesses that have had to close, the hospitality industry, the tourism industry, aviation, they are all maybe ground to a halt because of this COVID-19. When you look at the revenue issue, it's not just the taxes, it's also the businesses that have closed. Do you think Kenya has enough savings to maybe give a stimulus package for the economy?
Kenya may not have a stimulus package for the economy because we've been to a relatively similar situation during the post-election violence. So the economy tried to recover through some direct cash injections, things like kazi kwa vijana. They were trying to see how they can put money in people's pocket, but it was not very, very effective. So looking at this COVID-19 now, of course, the issue is quite big and it has affected every corner of the economy. So we not look into direct injection. Of course, the government might not be able to support that. And there's no structure to support that. So what maybe we foresee that they need to really push the monetary policy section of this government. This one would mean they go into moral situations with commercial banks because they have tried a forced interest capping to reduce interest rate so that people can get money from commercial banks, that they can now again inject into personal business and the economy can grow. We have seen that forced interest capping not working. So we now maybe expect a moral situation. They sit with commercial banks and agree on a certain favorable interest rate that will enable people to borrow money from this commercial bank and put into their business. We have also seen a section of this happening. We are talking about removing people who have some amount listed in this CRB out of this particular listing so that they can be able to borrow. We've seen people told, commercial bank being advised by the president, allow people to reschedule their loans. What is the government trying to do with all these measures? They are trying to open the monetary policy framework. They are trying to open the money circulation in the economy section of managing the way the economy works. So that's the only option maybe we would like to see. The government trying to work around it to ensure that we have good flow of money circulation in the economy, that people can really raise their businesses once more and recover from this COVID-19.
Kenya definitely is in a crunch when it comes to debt management. You know, it's evident from the ratings just coming down on us. When you talk about the over 700 billion that was supposed to be paid in this year's budget estimates for debt, what does this say now?
So definitely it is saying when you borrow some money as an individual, because the way we want to look at the economy generally, we should also look at it as individual people. So when someone borrows a loan to go and put in a business, they expect some revenue generation for that particular business, or they can be able to service this particular loan product. So if we borrowed a loan, we injected into a certain section of our business as a nation, then that business has not picked up, or we're trying to pay back this loan before even the business that we put, or the project that we put this money into has still not started generating any revenue, then we have an issue, right? Because you're trying now to go to the taxpayers' pockets without any effect of this project to these taxpayers to generate an extra revenue that we can get tax from there. So we are trying to get from the traditional income method that they were there without this particular project. We're trying to get taxes from them. So of course it will be quite painful for the economy and for the individuals in terms of paying this particular debt. But definitely we hope there'll be future in this injection that has come with this particular debt, so that maybe in future years, maybe we shall enjoy as a country. So that's the only hope we can have for now.
Do you foresee any new taxes being introduced?
Not at all, but we might, it also depends do we have any tax avenues or any tax base that we have not explored as a country. We have explored majority of the tax bases that we can. We only change the names of these particular taxes, we only vary the rates, but introducing a new tax system or a new tax in this particular situation of the economy might be quite difficult, but we might see elimination of some taxes and increasing of some other taxes. Yes. So we're trying the government might try to opt to increase some taxes on some items, but remove taxes on others. But introducing new taxes on this particular economy definitely might be a challenge. Unless the new tax comes up and targets a specific group of individuals who consume a certain product, that might work.
And even as we continue talking about the debt management, there's this issue of financing. Do you think that this particular, the global economy is definitely going into a recession because of the COVID-19 pandemic? Will that offer a challenge in terms of borrowing internationally?
Yes, definitely it will offer a challenge because every country is strained, but different nations have different financial ability. So there are countries who will be able to still do direct injections to their people and come out of the COVID-19 still strong, and their reserves still having adequate money for lending. Because if a country, I just give you an example, if giving international loans is a business for a certain country, so once they come out of COVID-19, of course there will be market for people requesting this international debt. So they definitely lend if that is their business. And once you, in a situation as a country, you're able to lend to a section of a continent, then it means your financial stability is very strong. So you can survive COVID-19 and still give money out and an income out of that.
So Kenya will still be at a position to borrow more?
Okay, it might not be at a position to borrow more because I guess we are hitting our limit in some for borrowing, and there will be a negative advisory toward that even from the parliament, because we borrowed enough and where we have put this money, and we foresee as economists it is not given enough revenue generation, or it has not had a very good multiplier effect into the economy. That says that we brought and constructed this particular road here. So out of constructing this particular road here, we have opened real estate in this road, we have opened manufacturing company in this rate, we have opened retail market in this rate, because of this road. So that's what we call multiplier effect. If the project that we have done through borrowing, they're not having any meaningful impact in terms of multiplier effect, then there'll be negative advisory to keep on borrowing. But definitely, if we cannot finance our expenditure, we might be forced to look outside. But how we look outside there, it depends with the CS treasury. Domestic borrowing, definitely it will be there, but we have seen a challenge with the interest capping and domestic borrowing, because the government will really take all the money that was supposed to be given to individuals. So what happens is that we have a challenge in terms of individuals borrowing and injecting to the economy, and then we have something we call crowding out effect, where the government trying to borrow to sustain itself or to develop or to enhance economic growth, but the private sector is crowding out. So it's not really advisable for the government to be focusing on domestic borrowing, because it kills private sector. Because I just give you an example. If it is cheaper for a commercial bank to lend to the national government, they buy treasury bills and bond. These are loans that will not be managed by anyone. These are loans that will earn interest, and there will not be cost of management, and there will no risk in terms of default. So all commercial banks will take money to the government, and you as an individual going to a commercial bank to borrow, of course they perceive the risk coming from COVID-19. You might not pay. We still have recovery costs if you not pay. So the commercial bank will shy away from individuals and lend money to the government. So it's not very advisable in terms of situation to have more government focusing on domestic borrowing.
The Kenya shilling has not been performing too well since the COVID-19 hit. In December, it was trading at about 101.3 shillings to the dollar. Right now, it's about 106.5 shillings to the dollar. What does this mean?
Of course, it means the effect is because most of the business that we are doing is we are net importer, remember that. So as long as we keep on importing, definitely we still have the fluctuation of the exchange rate. But some times back before the COVID-19, just immediately before the COVID-19, there were proposals that the central bank might be buying this foreign currency from commercial banks that they can maybe stabilize the exchange rate. So, but it's not worse off. So it depends with how, when we come out of this COVID-19, what is the strategy with the central bank have in terms of stabilizing the cent? Because immediately we come out of COVID-19, then we rush to importation of these of materials because we are net importer. Of course, that one might really affect. But maybe because what we call sterilization effect, whereby the Central Bank of Kenya tries to collect these foreign exchange reserves to manage the exchange rate, maybe that might help. So we are in a situation that where now we need intervention of the central bank to manage this exchange rate and to ensure stability of our currency.
Tourism is one of our largest foreign exchange earners in Kenya, and it goes without saying that the pandemic has really hit the sector hard. What sectors can the economy now depend on to just turn around the situation even as recovery now begins?
There are only two sectors that really support the economy, that is tourism and agriculture. So definitely they have to focus on agriculture and look at the rains that we have had. And then the rains have also come up with their own challenge. We have these floods, we have these insects that are also eating up or the already green vegetables, the locals that is. So the only focus that the government can really bank on is agriculture once we have tourism not performing. So maybe we expect some more allocation to agriculture. That would help, yes.
That goes without saying that there needs to be more value addition in the sector because we export a lot of raw materials and import a lot of finished goods. So what will that do now? Is it a change of mindset that is required?
Of course, it depends with both the national government and county government in terms of value addition and adopting the agenda for that we saw from the president in terms of food security and in manufacturing. Of course, manufacturing our agricultural sector, ensuring we have enough food processing and end products out of the agricultural sector, that would really help. But also depends with the sensitization that the government wants to do, both national and county government. But it's really a big potential if really focus is given.
You've just mentioned the Big Four agenda, the government's Big Four agenda. Do you think that this now is on hold and the focus has shifted to other things because of the COVID-19 pandemic?
Yes, definitely, because what is essential now is survival. So after COVID-19, definitely we can start the conversation regarding Agenda 4, but the budget might also be structured in a way it focuses on the agenda of the president, yes.
So as we near June and the budget now process is on its top gear, what do you look forward to? What are your closing remarks?
So I'm looking at a very strict budget in terms of cost rationalization, a budget that is geared toward ensuring that we survive in the short run and maybe ensure stability in the long run. So it must have two cadres: one, how to survive in the short run, that is COVID-19, and number two, how to ensure stability after COVID-19. So we are looking at a very unique budget that has never been presented before, because we have never had a budget that presented that when we are in such a situation. So maybe that would really be curious for us as economists to see what comes out of the Treasury in terms of a two-cadre budget that will foresee the COVID period and after the COVID period. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much, David, for speaking with us.
Thanks a lot, too.
That was David Kingo, an investments analyst at Saiton Investments, giving us an overview of the budget process this year, the difference it will make now that the COVID-19 pandemic has hit the economy hard. Remember, this broadcast continues. My name is Betty Kiptum.
People who choose to read their Bible daily, they become wiser and they become stronger than the people who don't read their Bibles. So when you choose hard, difficult things, you become a natural leader. He brings us to church to introduced to us another higher level of relationship that is called a faith relationship. You are also a solution to somebody else's problem. You cannot be the only problem all the time.
Join Pastor Jimmy Masharia on The Master's Touch this Sunday from 8 a.m. on KBC Channel 1.
Kusaidiana. How can you help me?
Naweza cause confusion kati ya Joel na Millicent.
Kusikia ni masikio hivi? Atumfanya nini?
Tuoshe vyombo na nyumba.
Kazi yako ni kukuja tu huku unatutenganisha mimi na bei wangu.
Have a good day.
Good day gani na tayari msaharibu.
Pia ni Nancy amekubrainwash.
Joel hakani mtoto yote ambaye ni wake. Anawapenda wote sawa.
So mfahamu Joel naye.
Habari yako?
Wewe uko kila mahali.
Pia kwa huku. Kwani kuna tabu nyumbani?
Coronavirus COVID-19 is a respiratory virus spreading across the world. The infection is spread from droplets of coughing and sneezing of an infected person, touching or shaking hands or being in contact with contaminated surfaces or objects with the virus. The signs and symptoms are fever, coughing, headache, body ache, difficulty in breathing. The disease can be prevented by regularly washing hands with soap and running water. Avoid close contact with people who have flu-like symptoms. Avoid handshake, hugs, and kissing. Also, protect yourself by covering your mouth or nose using a disposable tissue while coughing or sneezing. If you experience these symptoms and you had traveled or been in contact with a person from a country reporting COVID-19, you should isolate yourself for 14 days. Dial *719# or call 719. This message has been brought to you by the Government of Kenya and its partners.
Next on.
Don't mistake that I am struggling with the number of deaths I'm seeing every day in the different nations. I'm struggling with the people who are suffering, the marginalized communities. I'm struggling with all that.
But there are different levels within the families. There are those families who are thriving, in this season. And there are those families where this has been like a minor, just they're having to make some minor adjustments, lifestyle adjustments.
You take the good and toss away the bad.
Even if you're going through very severe, shock in your family because of COVID, there is hope.
Thank you for staying with us. Business Insight continues. Members of cooperative societies facing challenges in honoring their loan repayments are advised to reach out to their SACCOs and discuss alternative payment options. Cooperatives Alliance of Kenya Chief Executive Daniel Marube says the coronavirus pandemic has impacted negatively to the income of many SACCO members, adding that being people-centric, SACCOs are willing to listen to them. Like many financial institutions, cooperative societies have also suffered the shockwaves caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. Savings and credit cooperatives make up about 45% of Kenya's gross domestic product, with an asset base of over 1 trillion shillings, mobilized savings and deposits in excess of 732 billion shillings, and a loan portfolio of 700 billion shillings. In addition, the sector employs more than 500,000 people while necessitating self-employment through lending. Most borrowers, especially in hardest hit sectors, are facing a cash crunch, unable to honor their loan repayments.
Their businesses have been affected, their incomes have been affected, their ability to pay their loans has gone down, has been affected.
Okay.
So that sector it has a problem.
The Cooperatives Alliance of Kenya Chief Executive Daniel Marube says SACCOs are open to listen to the situations of the borrowers and consider extending the loan repayment periods and offer moratoriums to their members.
They can be able to agree amongst themselves and say, because our members have been affected, we can give them a longer period to repay their loans.
Okay. He added that the pandemic has had a shift in mindset for the cooperative sector, adding that the adjustments being made will in the long term help the sector grow.
We are going to invest more in ICT because now ICT is going to be the way we will be doing our business in. We have seen our weaknesses. So we are going to strengthen ourselves within those pillars to make sure that we are going to grow and become stronger.
Betty Kiptum, Channel 1 Business. Sweet pepper farming has gained popularity among farmers in Kibwezi constituency of Makueni County after many realized it does not need much attention like many other crops. Farmers say that despite the crop being relatively new to the rather dry region, the prices are very favorable.
Farmers from Kibwezi constituency of Makueni County have literally discovered a sweet deal in what the locals term as a gold mine, sweet pepper farming.
This is what they call sweet paprika. Sweet paprika is in the class of pilipili hoho. In Kiswahili, naeza iita pilipili tamu.
According to the farmers, the crop, unlike others, does not require much attention. Farmers here say that pepper has a ready market with favorable prices.
Ndio ile kitu ambaye naona tunapaswa kushirikiana na kufanya kwa sababu tuko na a lot of potentialities which are not exploited. And we need men and women to start rethinking their position, how to develop their place.
Experts say that the pepper is suitable for diabetes and high blood pressure patients due to its sweet taste.
It is not hot by all means. This is sweet. Even when you eat it now, you can taste it is not bitter. It is very sweet. And it is very suitable for people who have problems with diabetes and high blood pressure and other lifestyle diseases.
The sweet pepper is also suitable when used as spices in food. Farmers say it is much better than many spices available in the market.
We make salad and we use it like pilipili hoho. It is very sweet, by the way. And then we only get out once, and within 3 weeks, nobody goes out unless we have an emergency.
Subsequently, the farmers have sunk boreholes for irrigation purposes, given that the area is dry. Pepper or chili is a shrub that produces fruits whose color varies from green, yellow to red, depending on the maturity level and the species. Capsicum contains vitamin A, C, E, and all the big complex vitamins, plus minerals such as iron, phosphorus, and calcium. Some of these compounds are natural oxidants that quench free radicals in the body when pepper is consumed.
That is what we need to put in our minds and ask ourselves what kind of a value we can add right from our families, our counties, contribute to the national government, and then we can say, in these hard times.
Fiona Shuru, Channel 1 Business News.
Now, movement restrictions to contain the spread of COVID-19 is affecting provision of extension services to small-scale farmers who are majority food producers in the country. In addition, production of farm inputs has also been affected by the restrictions, which is likely to affect food production this year. Earlier, I spoke to Yara East Africa's country manager William Ngeno on how the agriculture sector is coping with the COVID-19 pandemic. Take a look. Kenya's economy largely depends on the agriculture sector, which supports over 80% of the livelihoods in the country. And we just want to find out how the sector is ensuring that it is resilient in these tough times of COVID-19, considering the restriction movements as well as the markets that have been disrupted. And to just give us an overview is William Ngeno. He is the country manager of Yara East Africa. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
How is the sector surviving at this point in time?
I would say the sector is undergoing a bit of challenges. As we all know, this pandemic wasn't planned for. But the fortunate thing is, of course, there's been many actors coming in quickly to salvage the situation. During the first part of March, towards April, there was a lot of panic in the industry, specifically movement of fertilizers from the port down to the farmer. But over the months, we can now see that things are settling down, and we as Yara have put in measures to ensure that we are still able to serve that farmer. We are still able to provide the service and the fertilizer to the farmer to ensure that there is actually food production happening.
Right. Of course, that is a great concern, ensuring that these inputs get to the farmer, because 80% of the food consumed in this country is produced by the rural population. So how is this being done? Getting that input now to the farmer themselves?
I would say it starts with the philosophy that we've had as a company in the long-term approach. Our business model is what we call a value-based integrated business model. How is this working? It's working in the way that the farmer is our consumer, is our customer. So what we do is we build a value to them. So over the time, we've been developing specific fertilizers for the different crops in the different regions based on the soil mappings. Yeah. So we would know, for example, a farmer in Wasingishu, a farmer in Webuye, a farmer in Kitale, what they specifically need for their different crops. So we've been working with a set of retailers, and this you find a lot of agrovets outside there. So we mapped the retailers across the country. We have their contacts, and we can be able to trace how our products are moving from point A, from point B. So this has actually helped in terms of being resilient during this time, because we have had an infrastructure in place in terms of transparency, from receiving fertilizers at the port of Mombasa all the way through the retail channel up to the farmer level. So for us, it's not only about the product, it's also about the knowledge that goes to the farmer. Because you see, over the years, what has been happening is that the expenditure on inputs, which accounts actually for more than 40% at the farm level of the total cost the farmer undergoes during a production season. So what we have looked is what kind of solutions in terms of fertilizers that can actually generate more revenue for the farmer in a small area, considering that land sizes are coming down and production has been going down. So the tact has been to build in a value-based model. And this is what we've been delivering through our set of agronomists. Every year we spend almost $1 to $2 million in terms of only investments on technical extension. And this is something that we've been building together with the counties and also together with our channel system.
Right. I think you've mentioned something very important, ensuring that the inputs get to the farmer as well as even the extension services get to the farmer. What do you think is being done currently, both by your company and even the sector players, to ensure that the farmers are receiving these services?
So the first thing that when this pandemic came in, the first thing as an industry, we sat down as members of the Fertilizer Importers Association. We had a lot of challenges. And the good thing is that the government gave us a listening ear and prioritized our industry as an essential service. So this is a good thing, and I must appreciate the government's and the ministry's effort on this. So right now in the industry, we have an essential service sticker, and this extends from us, the fertilizer manufacturers, the fertilizer importers, and the retail chain of fertilizer distributors. So this ensures that the goods, the fertilizers, the inputs are able to move from the port all the way to the farmer. So this is how the classification has actually helped in terms of moving ahead. And I will still add that this needs to happen. We still have instances of 1 or 2 cases of, in the roadblocks, fertilizer or other inputs are blocked. But I think this is something that can be stepped up to ensure that there is flow. Because the danger is, if there is a stop of inputs flow for only 2-3 weeks, the impact in terms of food production is so massive. Because if a farmer, if we miss to plant the crop, say even 2-3 weeks late in the season, already you lose 20% of the yield potential of that crop. Whatever you do After that, even if you do what, you will lose that.
In Kenya, agriculture performs pretty well, but it is evident that the potential is yet to be reached. What is the place of technology in ensuring that production in the ever shrinking small farm sizes, that production reaches its potential? What is the place of technology in that?
To say that our production is good is a fair statement. I believe we are still below par. Even with our East African neighbors, we're still lagging in terms of production per unit area. Why is this? Number one, I would say it is the capacity. Capacity challenges means freighting, transportation, and all that. It is quite significantly higher. If you consider, we produce our fertilizer in the factory in Europe, mainly Finland and Norway. To ship it to Port of Dar es Salaam or Mombasa, for that case, we pay, say, $30 per ton. But to ship it from Mombasa to the farmers, the see-through cost is double, is almost $70 per ton. So in terms of capacity, we would need to step up infrastructure. That would be in the form of warehousing, in form of rail networks, because this can significantly reduce the cost of production for the farmer. So those are capacity constraints. And we could plug in technology also in that. Maybe online deliveries, bulk purchase, connecting farmers into groups to ensure that they buy in bulk and could actually reduce the cost of transportation. The second challenge, I would say, it is competence. If you see the kind of fertilizers that 90% of the farmers are using in Kenya, most of it is acidifying to the soils. And also, it provides only 2 nutrients. If we want to increase our national average production, we have to provide to the farmers a key set of calibrated fertilizer nutrition regimes that meets the demand for the crops to ensure that the yields are increasing. Right. So that competence cuts across the sector. It's public sector, private sector, and the civil sector, because this is the group that delivers knowledge to the farmers.
As we come to a close of this interview, would you say, as your closing remarks, would you speak to the resilience of the sector now? The resilience of the sector at this time of COVID-19. Do you think the sector will come out strong?
I think that will depend mainly based on what will happen next. Since the situation and the numbers are going up, I would say that we need continued effort, private sector and the government, to ensure that these measures that we are put in place are really continuous, so that we don't have a break, that there is a position that distributors are not able to open their shops and provide seed and fertilizer to farmers. Also, as we are not able to import products, because if there is cut of importation of fertilizers, that means there will be a shortage, and if there is a shortage, then there will be a problem with the pricing, because the prices will go up. So what we have done as Yara is we've already forecasted the rest of the year, and we want to make a commitment that we are committed to ensure that fertilizer keep flowing here, so that we can get that fertilizer to the farmers throughout this pandemic. We will need, of course, government support to ensure that the essential service is maintained, to ensure that goods and fertilizers is moving to the next level. Just to add also on that, because it's important that the knowledge keep going. We have a weather app that we've given to the farmers for free. So Yara Farm Weather will give them an advisory of how it will rain in the next 14 days. So they can have visibility of when to apply, when to plant, and when to do this. So this is a digital way that we want to go ahead to also add in knowledge, and we keep sending them messages, we send them videos on how they can apply, because right now what happens is that there's no room for them to come into farmer field schools, which we normally train them because of the situation that we are in. So we have to switch into the social platforms to ensure that the knowledge is going. And as an industry, this is something that we will step up to ensure that this knowledge also is still keep going on to the farmers. As they keep on doing this, they are able to access information on the digital platforms. And as we say, we care from factory up to the field. We want the farmers to ensure that they are using this in the right way and in the right manner, so that they can be able to increase their production and, of course, get better incomes.
Well, that was William Ngeno. He is the country manager at Yara East Africa, and he has been giving us an insight into how the sector is building resilience to ensure that the inputs, the fertilizers are getting to the farmers, to ensure food production continues at this tough time of the COVID-19, to ensure that that food gets on your table.
Oh,